Not every villain starts with darkness. Some of them are simply pushed into it, piece by piece, until the cracks finally show. And that's when they get you. Villains don't just come out of nowhere. Sometimes they are shaped by pain, loss, and the moments that break them. They don't just wake up one day and decide to be evil. The world twists them, and eventually, they break. Today, we're going to dive into the stories of some villains who didn't start out as evil. They were changed by their circumstances. By the end of this video, you might find yourself questioning your thoughts on these bad guys.
Let's go!
Let's begin with Pitch Black from Rise of the Guardians. Pitch is often seen as the boogeyman, the one who turns children's dreams into nightmares. He's the embodiment of fear itself, and he's really good at it. But here's the twist. Pitch didn't always start as the villain. In fact, Pitch was once a hero. His original name was Cosmodus Pitcher, and he was a leader who fought to protect the cosmos. Imagine that. A hero who went from being the savior of the universe to its greatest source of terror. It's hard to even picture. But Pitch wasn't just born evil. He was manipulated. The Fearlings, the very things he had been fighting, preyed on his greatest weakness, his love for his daughter. They saw his vulnerability and used it to their advantage, turning him into something else. In the end, they turned him into the very thing he once fought against, the embodiment of fear. Pitch didn't ask for this. His desire for love and belonging was twisted, and that's how he ended up as the boogeyman. The isolation, the rejection, the pain, it broke him. Imagine fighting for something bigger than yourself, only to have it all ripped away. That's what happened to Pitch. He fought for something he loved, and instead of being celebrated for his courage, he became a tool for fear. His desperation to be remembered was so great that he became the nightmare no one wanted. But even in his villainy, Pitch's true desire wasn't power, it was recognition. To be remembered, to be loved. But in the end, nobody even believed in him anymore. Now let's talk about Megamind from, you guessed it, Megamind. We know Megamind as the villain turned hero, but before his transformation, he lived a life full of pain, loss, and a sense of never fitting in. His entire species was wiped out, and his parents sent him to space, where he crash-landed in a prison. Meanwhile, Metro Man lands in a mansion, and everything he touches turns to gold. How unfair is that? Megamind literally crash-landed into the worst possible place, while Metro Man gets a life of luxury. But that's the thing about Megamind. From the moment he landed, he was doomed.
هاكر هاكر يا جماعة لو انتبهتوا لحركاته هاكر.
Even as a child, he was an outcast, picked last in everything. Imagine being that kid, the one who never gets picked for anything, always in the background. Even though he was constantly pushed aside, he embraced the role the world had given him. The villain. It was the only thing that seemed to make sense. But then, when Megamind finally defeated his longtime rival, Metro Man, he was left with nothing. Imagine finally winning everything you thought you wanted, and realizing that it doesn't make you happy. Megamind had everything, yet he had nothing. His victory in the end felt hollow. But here's the real heartbreak of Megamind's story. He wasn't evil because he wanted to be. He embraced the villain role because it was the only thing that made him feel significant. The world had told him that he was a screw-up, and so he accepted that label. But when he finally defeats Metro Man, it's like he loses a part of himself. It's a classic case of be careful what you wish for. In the end, Megamind had to go on a journey of self-discovery. He had to figure out who he was outside of the label the world gave him. And when he finally found out, he embraced the hero within himself. Now let's shift gears a bit and talk about Humpty Dumpty from Puss in Boots. When we first meet Humpty, he's Puss's best friend. But, over time, Humpty betrays Puss, pulling him into a dangerous heist. But what makes Humpty's story even more tragic is the reason behind his betrayal. It's not just about greed or power. Humpty was hurt. Hurt because he didn't have what Puss had.
What is he doing?
He's beginning to believe.
Wait a minute! Who are you?
Puss found a family, a place where he belonged. Humpty, on the other hand, was left alone, and that's when the cracks began to show. Humpty didn't start out evil. He was once an orphan, just like Puss. They grew up together. But when Puss found love and family, Humpty was left behind. It wasn't just jealousy, it was abandonment. Humpty felt replaced, forgotten, and unloved. And so, instead of confronting his feelings, he projected them onto Puss. He pulled Puss into a world of betrayal and lies. The bond they had was shattered, and in that moment, Humpty was no longer the same. But what makes his story so heartbreaking is that in the end, Humpty did everything he could to make amends. He sacrificed himself to save Puss and the town. And in that final moment, when Humpty says, "I'm a rotten egg," you realize just how deep his regret goes. Humpty's journey isn't just about redemption. It's about realizing the cost of betrayal and the power of forgiveness. Speaking of cracks, let's talk about Scar from The Lion King. Scar is one of the most iconic villains in animation, but when you look deeper, you realize there's more to him than just the evil, scheming lion. Scar didn't wake up one day and decide to kill his brother, Mufasa.
Daddy, chill.
We don't do that.
No, his path was shaped by deep emotional wounds. Scar wasn't just jealous of Mufasa, he was poisoned. And I don't mean just physically poisoned, but emotionally as well. He was manipulated by the venom of his own resentment, and that venom clouded his judgment. When Scar went to Mufasa for help, he didn't get sympathy. He got rejection. Mufasa wasn't there for him when Scar needed him the most. And in that moment, everything twisted. Scar felt alone, betrayed. The venom, combined with his anger, pushed him to do the unthinkable. Scar wasn't born a villain. He was shaped by his experiences. If the venom had been treated, who knows how his story might have turned out? Maybe Scar could have been a different lion, one who fought alongside Mufasa rather than against him. But sometimes, our pain shapes us into people we never wanted to be. Next up, let's talk about Lotso from Toy Story 3. Lotso wasn't always the cold-hearted villain we see in the movie. He had everything. A loving owner named Daisy, and a place where he truly belonged. Daisy loved him. They did everything together. Hugs, picnics, tea parties.
Hi.
Okay.
Lotso was her favorite. He had the kind of childhood most toys could only dream of. But that one moment when Daisy replaced him, that's what broke Lotso. Imagine being replaced by someone you loved. Imagine feeling like you've been forgotten. Lotso couldn't process that pain. So instead of facing it, he turned it into anger. He projected his pain onto everyone else, twisting his entire worldview. We're all just trash, waiting to be thrown away, he says. It's heartbreaking, really. Lotso wasn't evil. He was broken. One moment of loss, one misunderstanding, and he was never the same. And that's what makes him such a tragic villain. Sometimes pain can twist a person into something unrecognizable. Let's now talk about Goo from Demon Boy Band. Goo wasn't always a demon. He started out as a boy living in poverty, trying to make his way in the world. But one big mistake changed everything. What makes Boo stand apart from other villains is the guilt he carries. He didn't want to be evil. He was manipulated into it. I left them, he says. The guilt of abandoning his family consumes him, and that guilt becomes his driving force. But here's the thing about Goo. He didn't have to become the villain. His story is about a mistake, and the shame of that mistake. But Goo fought against it. He didn't give in to the darkness inside him, though it was always there, pulling him deeper. In the end, Goo breaks free from his chains, and instead of becoming consumed by his past, he fights for the one person who believed in him. Goo isn't a demon. He's just a boy who made a mistake.
Oh, hey, I'm just about to go to bed. I know we couldn't Skype tonight, but that's alright. Good night, girl. I'll see you tomorrow.
And in the end, his redemption shows us that it's never too late to change. Finally, let's talk about Miguel O'Hara from Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse. Miguel chases Miles across dimensions like a cop on a mission. And at first, it's easy to think of him as the villain. But when you look closer, you realize Miguel's actions are driven by something far deeper than just power or control. Miguel lost everything. He had a family, a daughter. But that family was taken from him, and that trauma shaped everything he does. Imagine finding a world where you finally get what you've always wanted, a family, a reason to smile, and then watching it crumble. It's no wonder Miguel pushes Miles and the others away. He's afraid of losing what he loves again. And that fear has twisted his sense of right and wrong. In his mind, he's doing what's necessary to save the universe. But is he the villain? Or is he just a man broken by loss, trying to prevent history from repeating itself? Finally, let's talk about Kingpin from Spider-Verse. Wilson Fisk is ruthless. He's cold, calculating, and willing to destroy anything in his path. But when you see him lose everything, when you see the pain in his eyes, it's hard not to feel for him. Kingpin lost his family. His wife, his son, they were taken from him. And that pain twisted him into what he became. He tried to bring them back, using the Super Collider to tear apart the fabric of the universe. It's a desperate, unhealthy coping mechanism, but it's rooted in grief. When he finally sees them again, they don't recognize him. They look at him with fear, like he's a stranger. It's heartbreaking. Even in his villainy, Kingpin is a broken man. He's driven by loss, by the need to undo what happened. And maybe, just maybe, that's what makes him so tragic. Villains aren't always born from darkness.
How? Hold on, bro. How?
Sometimes they're shaped by their circumstances, by pain and by loss. They're human too, and maybe